Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, this is KG Ganapathi of Vimaan, and you're listening to the new Warehouse Podcast. Today's safety tip is let's all work to bring technology into warehouses to greatly enhance worker safety by preventing accidents.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. How do you create warehouse superheroes? The answer is simple. With visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus. With record demand and labor shortages, warehouses need more effective workers and lightning-fast onboarding. Visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus enable warehouse workers to achieve superhero performance with up to 20% improved productivity and up to 99% accuracy. Hands-free barcode scanners from ProGlove paired with wearable mobile computers is just the beginning. Improved mobile interfaces with reduced keystrokes, easy-to-read screens, custom keyboards, voice-enabled interface, and more can be realized with ease on the leading WMS platforms. Sound too good to be true? Let us show you with our one-of-a-kind virtual demo. Visit procensus.com to get started today. Again, that's procensus.com to get started.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. Today's episode, I am going to be joined by KG Ganapathi. He is the CEO at Vimaan, and Vimaan is bringing computer vision to the warehouse to help you have better inventory accuracy. And if anybody has been listening to the show for a long time or knows me in any way, they know that inventory is close to my heart, as most of my warehouse and logistics career has been based in inventory control. So I'm very interested to hear about this technology, which I think recently just came out of stealth mode and is very exciting, and also is saying that they can get you to 100% inventory accuracy. So we're going to hear a little bit about how they're going to do that, how they can get us there, which, as an inventory person, 100%, that's like a dream come true, right? That's a fantasy, in fact. So I'm going to welcome KG to the show, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing over at Vimaan. So KG, how are you?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Definitely happy to have you on and hear about this. So why don't you kind of get into it? Tell us Vimaan. It's an interesting name. So why don't you tell us what does Vimaan mean?
Yeah, Vimaan actually means heavenly chariot in Sanskrit, which is one of the most ancient languages. Right. And so the name actually comes because the company was originally conceived as a drone company. But over time, as I started to get introduced into different technology applications for the drone, I was introduced to warehouse inventory management. And since then, I learned that there was a really significant problem with warehouse inventory tracking. And we've obviously, we've gone far deeper and far broader in our reach and capabilities than just a drone, and are really now a full-fledged wall-to-wall computer vision company for inventory visibility and tracking, but the original name has still stayed with us.
Got it. Interesting. So the drone itself was supposed to be the heavenly chariot. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, I like it, but I will say that if you could deliver me 100% inventory accuracy, then I think that would be delivered on a heavenly chariot for sure. I would absolutely welcome that like that. So it's very interesting. So it started off with drones. It sounds like is what you're saying, but at some point it sounds like it kind of the idea and the concept transformed a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about that kind of inflection point where you decided to go in the route that now you're at with this kind of computer vision technology.
Yeah, sure. As we talked more and more with customers, we realized that there was this constant conflict or trade-off that warehouse inventory managers faced, which was, on the one hand, they could either use a lot of labor to accomplish their inventory goals and reach a high accuracy, but obviously that implied labor costs. Or they could sacrifice inventory quality or inventory accuracy and shipment qualities and pay for it from that side, but save on labor. So this trade-off is something that has plagued the warehouse inventory management space, since the beginning of the inventory management. Absolutely. And what we bring to the table is this very unique notion of being able to break that trade-off. We don't have to have a trade-off anymore. We offer a wall-to-wall computer vision solution that gives you incredibly high accuracy and incredibly high ability to maintain quality, and at the same time not be required to throw a tremendous amount of labor into it. So that was one really big driver. The other driver that it was really a confluence of multiple events that allowed us to feel like this was the right time to enter the marketplace. You've had many people on your podcasts talking about robotics and automation and how that has invaded multiple areas of the warehouse, whether it's picking or whether it's AMR or goods to person. There's just so many different manifestations of warehouse robotics. But what we also felt is that there was no one really tackling the problem of warehouse inventory. So not having the right thing at the right place isn't really helpful when you have a robot picking or placing something. And we felt that there was a really large market, a really untapped need, and a really good opportunity for us to leverage that core competency that we bring and establish a foothold in this marketplace.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think, on both your points there is that, inventory, in my experience, tends to be the department that, maybe I'm biased, but I would say it is the most important department. I will say absolutely 100%. I will stand behind that. It, just like you said, it's the first department to, like, if we need help somewhere else, take the people from there, right? So just like you said, it's oftentimes the area which doesn't really get the love and attention that it needs. And I love that you tied in the point there about, robots kind of filling in all these other positions in the warehouse, but not really addressing inventory in a sense. And, when you deal with people, I think with inventory, maybe a product is accidentally in the bin next to where it's supposed to be. Well, a person can pick up on that, but a robot cannot. A robot is very black and white. I'm picking from, A001, and if it's not an A001, then that's it. It's not there for me, right? So there's no necessary flexibility in that sense. And I think it's pretty interesting that you kind of recognize those along the way. And even as all these robots are coming in, recognizing the importance of that inventory accuracy and being able to create a solution to address that. So now you're talking about this computer vision technology and it's this wall-to-wall computer vision. So, tell us about, I guess, really how does it work and what's the vehicle for this computer vision technology? How is this working? And, I guess paint us a picture of, now I have a person that does, cycle counting and checks my inventory. How does Vimaan come in and kind of take that over?
Yeah, we're not limited to any specific area of the warehouse, but as a platform, the way it typically works is that we have a a fairly, complex sensor and camera suite. So the first thing, and then that's the suite that we deploy across the warehouse at various instances or various locations and the platforms. And when you use these sensors and cameras, we then capture data at whenever an event occurs, and then we translate that event into an actionable set of parameters and use all our computer vision, fairly sophisticated algorithms that run on our servers, and convert this into data that a warehouse facility manager can recognize. The same kind of inventory information that they capture today, but a whole lot deeper and a whole lot more contextually relevant. And we convert that and provide that to the warehouse facility manager or the inventory clerk. And that allows them to make sure that they are able to maintain a very rich and a very accurate database of their inventory at any given time. So you can track events, you can track the status of something, and you can ensure that everything is accurate, and you can ensure that the quality is maintained as well.
Very interesting. So now it sounds like there's a set of cameras and sensors which kind of drives that and the data capture standpoint. So I guess I'm trying to understand. So the camera is set up somewhere in the warehouse, in the racking. How does the setup look?
Yeah, it can go at multiple locations. And, as we go over the next several weeks and months, we'll be announcing multiple products that are specifically targeted at certain areas of the warehouse. But the concept is really exactly what you just said. If you place the cameras and the sensors in strategically important, relevant locations where they can capture either movement or motion or just location or status of storage, then if your computer vision algorithms and software are written in a way to capture and extract relevant information from all of that data that you're capturing on a daily or an every moment basis, then you can suddenly translate that into what has been actually happening in the warehouse, which in our case is inventory and the characteristics of that inventory, which we then turn around and give to the inventory manager to be able to take action and decisions with.
Very interesting. And, so in the sense, it's capturing what's there in the location or the area, whichever you're measuring. And then it sounds like when there's any type of movement, it's also capturing that movement. So in that sense, and you kind of talked about drones in the beginning, and I've talked to some companies where they're doing cycle counting inventory with drones. But, part of the issue that I've kind of seen with that is that, your locations need to be pretty organized and neat and uniform, because there's not much of, being able to capture like partial cases or, if maybe one box is kind of misaligned or something like that. So, how is the accuracy in that sense? Is it able to get those kind of variables in play?
Yeah, the best way to think about our solution, Kevin, is it's like a human being and his eyes or her eyes. If a human being can contextualize and read the information and make sense of that information, then so can our sensor suite, so can our cameras. We can measure dimensions, we can look for damage, we can look for a hole that's been punched through with a fork. We can look for water logging. Those are examples of what we can look for. We can look for a whole lot more, of course, but the simplest way to look at this is the power of computer vision compared to a traditional, barcode scanning technology. We don't just look at a barcode. We can do a whole lot more, because if a human being can look at a box or a label and read something, we are able to do that as well. And this kind of, again, a drone is just a very, very small and narrow part of our offering. And for that very reason that we moved to offering solutions that go well beyond the drone. Doing cycle counting is important, absolutely. Right. And several companies have that as a problem because, labor costs are too high, inventory accuracies are low. But there are also certain occasions when it is a really relevant and a valid solution. There are cases in which it's not terribly relevant. If you have very high velocity items and you want to track inventory there are different solutions that we bring to market. So our objective really is to try and solve a whole class of problems related to inventory accuracy and inventory quality and shipping quality, rather than just limited to cycle counting at the storage level.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I like there's a couple different vehicles, which it sounds like are future information, or we're teasing here a little bit, but that can, I guess, house this computer vision and be able to utilize it. So I think that's a really good thing to hear, because I think it adds that flexibility, which you need a lot of times. And it sounds like, I mean, obviously the big thing as an inventory guy that stood out to me is the inventory accuracy, but it sounds like, there's many things beyond that you can also do, like you're mentioning, recognizing damage and, water issues, all different types of things. And I'm sure that'll just continue to develop as you guys progress. So, this is fairly fresh in terms of coming to market, right? You guys just recently came out of stealth mode, but I think I saw that you kind of started with this idea in 2017. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So how has obviously we heard a little bit about the development process and how, it kind of pivoted a little bit to concentrate on this, but, how has it been now kind of recently coming out of stealth mode and, being out there in the market? I mean, how has the reception so far been?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. We came out of stealth mode last week, and it's, as you pointed out correctly, this technology, this company, this customer acquisition process has been 4 years in the making. And we've spent this time understanding customer problems and devising some what we think are very clever and very unique solutions and very relevant solutions to the marketplace. And we have gone a long way. And we are planning to put out some announcements over the coming 60 to 90 days over the kinds of traction, the customers we've got, the kinds of case studies and use cases that our customers are using this for. And I will simply say that one of the reasons we've waited to come out of stealth is so that we can have customers providing endorsements and support in our favor in terms of how they've gone live, how it has benefited them, the ROI that they're generating. Our customers are Fortune 100, Fortune 200 customers. So these are very big names, sector leaders in their space. We're really excited to see them having adopted this technology. We obviously look forward to continued engagements with both them as well as other players in their sectors. And so when we came out of stealth mode last week, some of this was not new to our existing customers and to some of our prospective customers. But that said, nonetheless, the data is still slowly trickling in. It's only been 3 days since we did the launch. We've had some really good success. We've seen over 1,000 sort of web unique visitors to our web. We've seen all kinds of social media engagements. We've started to see interest come in from some interesting quarters based on just the one announcement we did. And of course, as we go forward, that was just one press release. Over the next few months, as I said, a few weeks and months, we'll be coming out with more announcements of our products. And we expect and hope that to see a lot more engagement from the customer and the industry.
Very interesting, and it's good that you. And I'm sure for you, it's like a big sigh of relief to finally be out there and be known. You've probably been biting your tongue for a while, I can imagine. But so and it's interesting. You've been working with these kind of top companies on this, and obviously inventory accuracy is such a key thing. And I've heard of some top companies, even though there's these huge companies and you think everything is great, like some of their inventory accuracy numbers are not as great as you would expect, I think. So I'm sure it's very receptive to this. So I'm curious, how much of I guess, influence or factor were these customers that you were working with, and I'm sure kind of maybe testing with as well? How much did they influence kind of what this unveiled final, not necessarily final, but product that we're now getting in the market? How much did they kind of influence that?
Great question. So the biggest influence, I will say, is, of course, A, their support and cooperation at such an early stage, and B, the statement of the problem in a way that allowed us to come up with solutions that they could use in their daily operations without impacting or adversely influencing their workflow. The one thing that when we heard the same problem stated by multiple warehouse operators, multiple large companies, we knew that this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and we knew that nobody else is addressing it. But we also knew from these customers some of the constraints that they operate under. Some of them are 3PLs, they have limited contracts, and so any solution cannot expect a large investment or a large deployment cycle or a long deployment cycle. It cannot require major changes in infrastructure or major retraining of the workforce. So you really want massive change without any change. That was really fundamentally what they were trying to tell us. Right. And we took that to heart. So the challenge is, how do you solve a problem without changing anything so dramatically that it becomes too hard to adopt and the friction in the sales process becomes too high? So that was the one thing that we constantly heard from these customers. And as a result, the solutions that we engineered, we feel really good about the ease of deployment and the frictionless initiation of these products into the market, into their workflow. And that eases their ability to sell it internally as well. So those are some of the really critical pieces of feedback that we got from our big customers.
Very interesting, and it's a very interesting point there about listening to the customer in terms of, and when you mentioned 3PLs as well, with different things changing and different variables, not having a long deployment, like you mentioned, is a big thing, and being able to address the issues that they have is definitely very important. So I think it's really great that you guys are able to kind of absorb that knowledge and be able to react and plan for those types of things before kind of really coming out there for the coming out party, right, that you guys are doing. And, it really makes, I think, for what should be a solid product for people to be able to use. Now, talking about kind of having short deployments and getting started with companies and, being able to come in and make a big impact. And obviously, talking about 100% inventory accuracy, I mean, it's huge achievement, and very, very hard to get there. And, you can get into the 90s, but then even like a half percentage point gets very, very hard. There's a lot of work to get there. I'm curious so when you come into a company and you implement your technology, how do you guys help the company get to this point? And what does the process really look for? Because obviously, it's not like day one, all of a sudden your inventory is fixed. So talk to us a little bit about that. How does that kind of work, and what can companies expect in the process?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
It is about, when we engage with a customer, we of course try to understand their workflow. And the good news in this industry is that, broadly speaking, workflows are all very similar, right? It's a warehouse logistics space. people have done this before. They're all pros at it, and they all do it relatively similarly. So when we provide solutions or we engage with them on discussing a solution to a specific pain point that they might have in a workflow or in a warehouse, for example, their picker productivity is low. They've got these very stringent on-time in full contracts to fulfill, but they cannot find that last 2 or 3 items when the truck leaves. So they got lots of people looking around for an item, and it hurts productivity. Another warehouse may be supplying a production line next door. And if that production line doesn't get the right parts on time, then the production line goes down. So the cost of inventory accuracy is really high in that case. Another company may be having very low shipment fulfillment accuracy rates. And so lots of claims and chargebacks. How do you avoid those kinds of problems? So every warehouse has a different set of parameters that they're trying to optimize for, a different type of problem they're initially trying to solve for. And so when we go in, the platform that we have is really very similar. It's just the manifestation or the instantiation of the solution depending on their problem that we need to deploy. And our computer vision solution is all about, there's machine learning. And so we get some very simple samples of what they do. We train our models. It takes us maybe a week, but we go in there and we can immediately hit the ground running, get to very, very high accuracies within a matter of days or a week or two. And, you asked about inventory accuracy being at 100%. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that no machine learning algorithm, no computer vision capability is 100%. So I want to make that very clear. We don't deliver out of the box 100% accuracy. What we do is we enable 100% accuracy because one of the really very important and distinguishing characteristics of our ability to deliver the solution is that when we deliver a solution, we are simultaneously intelligently understanding what the WMS thinks is in the warehouse or is going through that workflow. And we highlight any discrepancies that we are seeing against what the WMS is seeing. And we highlight those issues, and it could be in some cases 0.5%, to your point. In some cases, it could be 15% of the time there are discrepancies, depending on what the accuracy is in that particular warehouse. So what we do when we highlight these very specific discrepancies, that allows the warehouse to send their quality auditors or their inventory clerks to that specific line item on our screen, on our application, which is the view deck application. And they can instantly reconcile those discrepancies and say, oh no, the WMS is wrong. Overwrite it with this because I have this proof that it's wrong because Vimaan has told me it's wrong. In some cases, some rare occasions, we may not be right. And they say, that's okay, leave the WMS as it is because Vimaan got it wrong. But what you're allowing them to do is on a very high frequency basis, reconcile these discrepancies. And now instead of having a set of auditors that are blindly picking 5 or 10 or 15% of the items to audit and still missing the items that are actually off, we pinpoint a very small fraction, maybe it's 2%. And we tell those auditors to go to that 2% or 2.5% and go fix those problems, and giving them an assurance that the other 97.5 or 98% is accurate. So that's how we enable 100% accuracy without actually out of the box delivering the 100% accuracy.
Interesting. It's interesting. So it really gives you a chance to, I guess, attack those exceptions and discrepancies that you mentioned like right away, because I guess it's recognizing and it's calling it out to you. So, it's very interesting because, we mentioned, the importance of cycle counting, but oftentimes with the cycle counting, you may not even, recognize that there's a discrepancy for, depending on your frequency of counting. I mean, it could be a month, 2 months later, and depending on, what velocity those SKUs are in and those bins and different things, it could take a while until you get to that bin and actually count it. And by the time you know it, it's, the discrepancy happened 3 months ago, and you have no idea really how to root cause it, or what the issue could have been, or maybe even that person is no longer even working there at that point, and maybe that's why, but you never know. So, but I think the one thing I'm curious about too, is Vimaan, really kind of coming in and going in place of doing the cycle counting process, or is it like a next level support of that process?
In all the cases in all the situations that we are fully live and fully deployed in, Kevin, we replace the cycle counting process. And we do that at a much higher frequency of cycle counting, exactly the way you described it. Yeah. We highlight discrepancies on a daily basis. We can even cycle count on a very targeted basis, if you wish, so that you're only focusing on the changes that occurred in the last 24 hours and then doing your regular cycle counts. There's all kinds of things we can do. But again, I want to emphasize that cycle counting is just one example of what we do. If you translate and expand this notion across the warehouse, whether it's in your receiving or your shipping or picking or put away or packing or whatever it is, and then overlay this concept of discrepancy resolution on a near real-time basis, you can now say, okay, my shipping quality, fulfillment accuracy, my receiving latencies, everything has started to improve. And of course, my storage accuracies and my knowledge of what's in the shelves has also dramatically improved.
Very interesting. And I think it's great too that it's not just like you mentioned, that I know I've been focusing on the cycle count part a little bit just because that's my little bread and butter, I guess. But, it's great that it can focus on these other aspects as well, because all of these aspects also are either input or output of inventory. Especially you mentioned the receiving dock, that's the first step to, something being wrong. If something's wrong there, then it's probably going to continue to be wrong for, a few more process steps, if not all of them. So, it's very good that you're addressing all of that. And I like that there's that flexibility and that you can apply it in multiple different scenarios. So I'm very interested, obviously, in the platform. And of course, I'm interested to see, what it looks like and how it works in action and all those different things. So with that being said, you guys are going to be at MODEX coming up, MODEX 2022, which is March 28th, starting March 28th. So we'll be there. I'll have a booth. So I'm hoping that, I can come by and see how this works. So if attendees are listening to this and they come by your booth, what can they expect to see?
Well, first, between now and MODEX, I anticipate that we'll be making more announcements about our solutions and how they can be deployed and what kind of value they can provide to a prospective customer. And of course, at MODEX, we are very much looking forward to meeting the customer community and the entire industry ecosystem. And there we anticipate making more announcements, including of our customer use cases and our customer deployments. And we will be able to name some customers as well. We will also be demonstrating some of our products at the booth that we have, and very much look forward to engaging with you personally, Kevin, as well as with other people in the industry. This is our coming out party, and we're really looking forward to it.
I bet. And it's going to be a good time, I think. I'm very excited for it. I can't wait to be in person. Actually, it'll be great. And obviously, can't wait to come by the booth too, see what you guys got going on. I'd be very interested to see this technology and the computer vision, how it actually works, and some of the applications that you're mentioning that it can be put together with. So very interested to see it. If people are interested in the meantime to learn more about Vimaan, how can they do that?
Absolutely. They can visit our website at www.vimaan.ai, VIMAAN.ai. They can also reach out to our head of sales, Philip Archambault, PHILIP .Archambault, ARCHAMBAULT at Vimaan.ai.
Okay, great. And we'll put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well, so people can easily find it. And I'm sure people will be reaching out to you and definitely stopping by the booth at Modex. I can't wait to see it, and I'll see you there. So, KG, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.